This brutal truth that makes 95.7% of women find you irresistible. Stoic life lessons. Stoicism. Most people chase happiness, success, and validation, never realizing that true mastery comes from within. What if I told you that 95.7% of people struggle because they're stuck in a cycle of seeking approval instead of discovering the one thing that can set them free? This secret isn't about quick fixes or trends, it's about embracing something deeper. It's a tough path, but once you embrace it, you'll notice something incredible. A calm confidence and resilience that naturally attracts success and peace. In this video, we'll dive into the brutal truth of modern Stoicism, why adopting the Win Stoic mindset can help you thrive, and how this philosophy can help you win even in the toughest situations. Let's begin. Number 1. How teasing her drives her wild. There's a secret that the most magnetic men understand. Women don't want everything handed to them. They don't want a man who spills his emotions all over the place, who tells her exactly how he feels, or who makes things too easy. They want tension. They want the build-up. They want the chase. As Albert Einstein once said, gravitation is not responsible for people falling in love. It's the irresistible pull, the tension, the dance that stirs desire and attraction. And nothing drives a woman wild more than a man who has mastered the art of teasing. A man who flirts with just enough restraint to make her want more. A man who makes her laugh but with a touch of challenge. A man who shows desire but never in a way that feels desperate. Because when you learn how to tease a woman just right, you make her body react before her mind even realizes what's happening. This isn't just about teasing for the sake of it. It's about creating an emotional roller coaster, one that keeps her guessing, one that makes her feel alive. Teasing is about unpredictability. You give her just enough to keep her hooked and then pull back, leaving her wanting more. It triggers dopamine, the same chemical that fuels addiction. The moment you compliment her and then playfully take it back, you make her crave your attention. You make her wonder if you like her or if you're just playing a game. You challenge her instead of showering her with validation. Oh, you think you're cute? Maybe, but I might need some more convincing. It's this mystery, this uncertainty that keeps her coming back, longing for more. The best teasing is layered. It's about how you say things, when you say them, and how you follow up. You know, I was going to take you seriously, but then you did that thing with your hair. Now, I don't know. Or, when she reaches for your hand, you pull it away with a smirk just for a second before finally letting her have it. With timing, when you act like you're about to kiss her, build the tension, then lean back and say, not yet. Every move you make keeps her hanging on. Every action makes her anticipate the moment when you'll finally give in. Because here's the thing, teasing creates tension, and tension is the key to sexual attraction. As the legendary Carl Jung once put it, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When you create tension, when you keep her on edge, you transform the dynamic. Most men either try too hard to impress her, throwing compliments, gifts, and attention at her in the hope that she'll like them. She won't. Others play it too safe, avoiding boldness, boring her into oblivion. But the man who keeps her guessing, who makes her laugh, who challenges her and makes her crave more, that's the man who stays on her mind. And when you tease her just right, she isn't just attracted to you. Number 2, the man who can walk away owns the game. It's a truth most men miss, and it's why they keep struggling with attraction. Think about it for a second. What makes something truly valuable? Is it the thing that's always available, always chasing, always desperate to be chosen? Or is it the thing that stands its ground, the one that demands to be earned, that makes people work for it? This is where scarcity comes in. Scarcity creates value, and when it comes to attraction, women are instinctively wired to chase what feels scarce. They want what's just out of reach, not something that's constantly available. The moment you show her that you're willing to walk away, that's when she starts chasing. She'll start thinking, why isn't he chasing me? Why does he seem so unbothered? Did I misjudge him? You've just flipped the dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the guy who's trying to win her over. You've become the challenge, the mystery she wants to figure out. Most men get this wrong. They text back too fast, agree to everything, and revolve their world around her. The problem? They're destroying their own value by making themselves too easy. But when you walk away, you create a psychological shift in her mind. She starts thinking, wait, why isn't he chasing me? Why is he so calm about this? Does he not need me? And that's exactly when she starts chasing you. Attraction isn't about needing her. It's about not needing her. It's about showing her that you're perfectly fine whether she stays or not. When she sees that you're not desperate for her approval, you're not afraid to walk away, and you don't let her mood swings affect you, that's when you become irresistible. Think about the guys who seem to never care, the ones who don't text back right away, who aren't trying so hard to impress. They're not jerks, they just know their worth. They know they're the prize. And once you realize this for yourself, you'll never chase a woman again. You'll understand that if she's not afraid of losing you, she'll never truly respect you. So here's my question to you. Do you want to keep chasing, or are you ready to become the prize that women crave? If you have ever been in a situation where your dependence on others made you feel powerless and afraid to take a step forward, share your strength by commenting, "I know my worth," below. Your story may inspire others to realize that when they are not afraid to lose, they can truly gain power and respect. Number 3, the man who drives her wild without saying a word. Let's talk about a powerful concept that many men fail to truly grasp: the art of creating sexual tension without saying a single word. It's not about rushing things or blurting out the most seductive lines you can think of. Instead, it's about the slow burn, the kind of attraction that builds so effortlessly, so subtly, that it catches a woman off guard. Imagine making her body react before you've even touched her, causing her heart to race, her breathing to change, her mood to shift. You haven't done anything overt, you've just created a space of energy between you that's so magnetic she can't help but be drawn in. It's this sexual tension, quiet, controlled, and filled with anticipation, that gets to the core of attraction. As one of the most famous Stoics, Seneca, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And in this case, this idea of subtle yet powerful attraction takes form in the imagination, in the space between what is said and what is felt. Now you may be wondering, how exactly do you master this kind of allure? The truth is, it's not about overwhelming her with constant compliments or expressing every desire you have the second you see her. It's about maintaining control over yourself, over the pace, and letting the tension build naturally. The men who really understand this don't need to chase. They don't need to go after her with flashy moves or desperate gestures. They let the tension grow so that she begins chasing them instead. Think about it. When you create this type of tension, you're not focused on what to say next. You're focused on how to let things unfold. You're not in a rush to get a reaction, and that sense of control is incredibly attractive. The key is to hold eye contact just a little longer than feels comfortable, to let her feel your presence in a way that makes her wonder, what's going on with him? It's the art of being calm in your presence and not giving everything away. But it's not just about looking at her. It's about making her feel that you are in complete control. Lowering your voice to a deep, controlled tone is another powerful tool. You're not shouting for attention or bombarding her with your words. No, you're speaking slowly, deliberately, letting each word sink in. You create a space where your silence is as powerful as your words. You know that silence builds tension, so you pause before you speak, maybe for just a second, before offering something like, "What am I going to do with you?" These aren't just words. They are carefully chosen to evoke a reaction that's more than just mental. It's physical. It's a way of making her body respond before her mind even catches up to what's happening. And then there's the touch. It's not about grabbing her or rushing into physical contact. The best kind of touch is light, subtle, a hand grazing hers, your arm brushing against hers as you walk past. Maybe your fingers linger just a second too long on hers. It's these moments, brief and unspoken, that create an electric energy in the air. Women are incredibly attuned to energy and the unspoken communication that occurs through touch. A subtle, almost imperceptible touch can send a rush of anticipation through her body, and that's what makes the difference. If you've ever noticed how she reacts when you make that light touch, it's almost as if she can't quite figure out why she's so drawn to you. That's the tension at work. Here's the thing, women don't want everything handed to them. They want the build-up, the anticipation. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. Instead of trying to impress her, embody it through your actions and leave room for her to wonder. The longer you let her wait, the more she craves it. The man who controls the pace, who doesn't rush, holds the power. This isn't about being distant. It's about knowing when to hold back and letting the tension build. When she's wondering, is he going to kiss me? You've already won. Attraction isn't about manipulation. It's about mastering the art of patience and letting things unfold naturally. The question is, are you in control of your pace? When you master this, the chase becomes her desire to chase you. That's when you know you've got it. Number 4. Mastering penance. How to make her feel like a woman. The truth about attraction that most men fail to understand is both simple and incredibly powerful. A man who makes a woman feel truly feminine, deeply, irresistibly feminine, can have her whenever he wants. This isn't about looks, money, or impressing her with grand gestures. It's about how you make her feel in your presence. Women often find themselves trapped in their heads, overthinking, planning, and worrying about how they are perceived. Yet, when a woman is in the presence of a man who makes her feel desired in the rawest, most genuine way possible, she stops thinking, she starts feeling, she becomes drawn into the moment, fully immersed in it. And once she feels that pull toward you, there's no stopping what happens next. Too many men try too hard to impress women. They think the key to attraction lies in saying the right thing, looking perfect, or constantly proving their worth. But the men who truly captivate women, those who effortlessly make them weak in the knees, understand something crucial. Attraction isn't about trying, it's about presence. A man who exudes deep sexual presence doesn't need to say much. He doesn't need to act out or perform. All he needs to do is exist in a way that subtly reminds her of her femininity. It's in the way he holds eye contact a little longer than necessary, allowing her to feel the weight of his gaze. It's in the way his presence makes her heart race, simply from the way he looks at her. Speaking slowly, deliberately, and with confidence, he doesn't rush to fill every silence. No nervous energy, no over-explaining, just pure, controlled dominance in his voice. And it's not only in his words, but in his actions. A man who owns his space, who moves with certainty, takes up space like he belongs wherever he stands, exudes a quiet, intoxicating power. A light touch on the small of her back as you guide her through a door, or the brief brush of your fingers on hers as you take a drink from her hand. These small but electric moments are subtle, yet undeniable. It's in these little things, the moments that go almost unnoticed, yet completely undeniable, that make a woman's mind spin with thoughts she might never admit out loud. The brutal truth is that most men make women feel nothing. They are too stiff, too hesitant, and too afraid to express attraction in a way that makes a woman's body react before her mind even catches up to what's happening. But the man who taps into her deepest feminine energy, who makes her feel desired, safe, and even a little out of control at the same time, that's the man she fantasizes about. That's the man she can't resist. And that's the man who can have her whenever he wants, without ever needing to chase. A perfect example of this energy can be seen in the life of American entrepreneur and author Tim Ferriss. In his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, Ferriss tells the story of how, after years of intense work and self-improvement, he began to notice a significant shift in how people, including women, treated him. He didn't have to chase or prove his worth to anyone. Instead, Ferriss had mastered the art of presence. He stopped rushing, started focusing on being present in each moment, and allowed his natural confidence to shine through. Women, and even business partners, became more drawn to him, not because he was trying to impress them, but because he was calm, in control, and at ease in his own skin. This is the essence of true attraction. When a man embodies this deep sense of self-control and presence, women don't just want to be around him, they want to be consumed by him. They're drawn to his aura, his energy, the way he makes them feel like the most desired, feminine version of themselves. And when you master this energy, you no longer need to chase. You simply exist, and women will follow. So, if you want to know the secret to making a woman feel like a woman, desired, safe, and irresistible, understand this: it's not about doing more, it's about being more. Be present, own your space, make her feel like she is the center of your universe in the most subtle yet powerful way. Once you have that control, once you understand that your presence can make her weak in the knees without saying a word, you'll realize that you don't need to chase anymore. The chase becomes hers. This is the Stoic guide to attraction. Stay disciplined, stay powerful, and most importantly, stay in control. When you do, the world and the women within it will come to you. Number 5. Why emotional unavailability attracts heat. In the world of attraction, there's a subtle truth that many men overlook. Emotional availability can be both a blessing and a curse. While being emotionally open and present in a relationship is important, there's something about emotional unavailability that creates an undeniable pull, especially in the early stages. When a man is too emotionally open or too eager to connect right away, he inadvertently communicates to a woman that he's too easy to get, and there's no challenge involved. Attraction thrives on mystery and the thrill of the chase, And when a man is too emotionally available, he signals that there's nothing worth pursuing. He's already given too much of himself too soon, and that lack of emotional space can cause her to lose interest. On the other hand, the emotionally unavailable man is different. He doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't pour out his deepest feelings on the first date, nor does he seek constant validation or approval from her. Instead, he's secure in his emotional world, confident in himself and his own needs, and doesn't rely on her to complete him. This emotional independence creates an aura of mystery that naturally attracts women. She starts to wonder, why isn't he chasing me? What's going on in his mind? Why is he so different from other guys? This curiosity begins to grow, pulling her in deeper as she wants to figure out what lies behind his emotional walls. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This quote applies directly to emotional availability. When a man is in control of his emotions, he becomes less dependent on others for validation and more attuned to his own needs and desires. His emotional self-sufficiency makes him more valuable in her eyes. Women are naturally drawn to this type of man because it's rare. His emotional independence becomes a form of emotional currency, making him more emotionally valuable to her. The less he offers emotionally, the more she wants to understand him, to break down his walls, and to uncover what makes him tick. This creates a fascinating dynamic, a push-pull effect. The more emotionally unavailable he is, the more effort she has to exert to get his attention. The more she has to work for his affection, the more she craves it. This taps into her primal instincts, the desire to chase something that feels scarce and emotionally rewarding. The moment she realizes she has to put in work to earn his attention, it makes her value him even more. And here lies the magic of emotional unavailability. It flips the script. He doesn't need to chase, the chase becomes hers. Driven by her curiosity and desire to break down his emotional barriers, she becomes the one pursuing him. This balance of emotional space and intrigue is where the power lies. It's a subtle yet potent way of navigating the game of attraction. By maintaining emotional distance, a man can remain grounded in his own self-worth and desires, while making her come to him instead of the other way around. This is how a man can apply the principles of Stoicism to the dynamics of attraction, by mastering emotional control and not being too eager. As the Stoics often teach, he who is brave is free. The emotionally unavailable man doesn't need to chase after validation or approval from others. He stands firm in his emotional freedom, making him all the more attractive. So, remember, emotional unavailability isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about emotional self-sufficiency and maintaining an air of mystery that makes you more desirable. When you can control your emotions and remain grounded in your own purpose, you'll naturally become a more attractive, high-value man. This is the Stoic way, to master yourself first and let the world come to you. Number 6. The man who has a life outside of her is irresistible. Let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in relationships: a man's life outside of the woman he's with. Women are naturally drawn to men who have their own lives, men who are independent, passionate, and who don't revolve around them. It's not about being distant or detached, but about having a clear sense of purpose and goals that don't depend on her approval. This type of man exudes confidence and mystery, qualities that are incredibly attractive. A man with a full, exciting life doesn't need to chase after a woman's attention because he's already got his own priorities. His time is valuable, and because of that, she starts to realize she has to earn it. She wants to be part of his world, not because he's desperate for her to be there, but because she recognizes that he's not available to just anyone. This kind of scarcity only adds to the attraction. The high-value men, the ones with a purpose, understand how to prioritize their passions and ambitions over everything else, including the relationship. When a man's life is focused on something bigger than just the relationship itself, that's what makes him even more irresistible. Think about it. If you're always there, always available, always chasing after her, you start to lose your value. But when you're focused on your own goals, when you've got something to work toward, you become a man of value. This isn't about neglecting her or the relationship. It's about having a well-rounded and exciting life of your own. A man who's truly self-sufficient doesn't rely on anyone else to define his worth. And in today's world, where so many people are seeking constant validation, that's one of the most attractive things you can be. Look at the successful people you admire, whether they're in business, sports, or any other field. Do they chase after attention or validation? No, they focus on creating their own value, their own purpose, and in doing so, they become incredibly attractive to others. So let me ask you, are you living your life with enough passion and purpose that others are naturally drawn to you? Are you the kind of person who's so focused on your own growth and goals that people can't help but want to be part of your journey? If you find yourself still seeking validation from others, it's time to change that. Become the high-value man who doesn't need to chase attention. Focus on your purpose and watch as people are drawn to the life you're creating for yourself. A Stoic life lesson here is to always focus on what you can control: your actions, your purpose, and your future. Once you do that, you'll see just how irresistible you truly become. So, what's your next step in building a life of purpose and value? Start by asking yourself what passions or goals you've been putting off, and take action today. A man who lives with purpose and direction is truly irresistible. Share your commitment to living a life of value and independence with our community. Comment, "I'm ready to create my own path," to show that you're taking the first step toward becoming the high-value man who attracts and respects his own purpose. Number 7. Vulnerability without weakness is magnetic. Let's talk about a trait that many people misinterpret: vulnerability. It's often seen as a weakness, especially in men, but in reality, when expressed in the right way, it can become one of the most powerful tools in building genuine connections and attracting the right kind of attention. Have you ever noticed how people are drawn to those who are authentic, those who are comfortable enough to show their true selves without fear of judgment? This is exactly what vulnerability does when shown correctly. It reveals a man's authenticity, his emotional depth, and his strength. As the great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Similarly, how you view and express vulnerability will shape the quality of your relationships. Vulnerability is not about being needy or desperate. It's about being real. When a man opens up about his past struggles, his fears, or his life journey, it doesn't come across as fishing for sympathy or attention. Rather, it shows that he is grounded, emotionally intelligent, and confident in who he is. So, think about this. How do you feel when someone opens up to you in a sincere, non-crying for help way? You likely feel a sense of connection and respect. This is exactly what vulnerability does. It builds a bridge between two people, creating a space for deeper understanding. But here's the crucial part: vulnerability without weakness. A man who can express his emotions while also maintaining control over them is incredibly magnetic. He isn't afraid to acknowledge his struggles, but he doesn't let them define him. The key is balance. Vulnerability on its own can be perceived as a sign of fragility, but when paired with strength, it becomes magnetic. This combination of being open about feelings while staying emotionally grounded creates a man who is not just emotionally available, but emotionally mature. This duality is what makes a man irresistible. It's the kind of vulnerability that doesn't diminish a man's strength, but instead enhances it. In fact, this mix of emotional openness and strength aligns perfectly with the Stoic mindset, mastering one's emotions while still being honest with them. Think about the people you're naturally drawn to. They are usually those who aren't afraid to show their emotions, but also don't let their feelings control their actions. They inspire trust and respect because they are both real and stable. If you want to develop a genuine connection, especially with women, embodying this balance of vulnerability and strength will set you apart. It's not about hiding your flaws, it's about showing them confidently, with the understanding that being real doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. The key to irresistible attraction: mastering the art of emotional control. Gentlemen, let's face it, relationships and attraction are often far more complicated than we make them out to be. We've all heard the usual advice: be yourself, be available, always show you care. But here's a brutal truth that very few people understand. The most magnetic men aren't necessarily the ones who try the hardest. They're the ones who embody a mindset of power, control, and mystery. What if I told you that the key to attracting women and winning their respect lies not in chasing them, but in mastering the art of presence, confidence, and emotional control? Stick with me, because we're about to dive deep into the Stoic mindset and uncover the secrets that will make you not just attractive, but irresistible. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll see relationships and attraction in a whole new light. Let's get started. Number 1. Why being too available makes you less attractive. In the world of attraction, there's something that might seem counterintuitive, yet it holds true. Being too available can actually work against you. You may think that always being there for someone, answering every text instantly, or dropping everything to meet her needs would make you more appealing. But the reality is, it often has the opposite effect. When you're always available, always eager to please, or constantly showing up whenever she calls, you're sending the message that you're easy to get. And let's be honest, easy isn't always exciting. Women are naturally drawn to men who present a challenge, men who make them work a little bit to earn their attention. Think about it. If you're always there, then where's the mystery? Where's the anticipation? If she knows that she can reach out to you any time and you'll drop everything to respond, she may begin to take you for granted. You become predictable, and that predictability can kill the attraction. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." This quote doesn't just apply to how we live, it applies to how we approach relationships as well. If you're always available, there's nothing for her to examine, nothing for her to strive for. You're no longer a mystery, and let's face it, mystery is part of what keeps things exciting. Women are drawn to the unknown, to what feels a bit out of reach. When you make yourself too accessible, you take that mystery away, and without it, the relationship loses its spark. Think about the Stoic mindset for a moment. Stoicism teaches us the importance of emotional independence, of being content and at peace with who we are, regardless of external validation. When you start to embrace this mindset, you begin to shift your approach to attraction. You don't need to chase validation from others, and you don't need to be constantly available to be seen as valuable. Instead, you become someone who values their time, their goals, and their passions. And when you do this, you begin to realize that your value comes from within, not from being overly available to others. This sense of self-worth is magnetic. It creates an air of confidence that women are naturally drawn to. As you think about this, ask yourself, how much of my own time am I willing to give away? Am I sacrificing my own passions or goals just to be available to someone else? When you start to make space for yourself, when you begin to live with purpose and focus, you'll notice something remarkable. The people who value you will respect your time and attention even more. This leads to something even more powerful than mere attraction. It leads to stoic happiness, where you find joy in your own life, independent of anyone else's approval. So the next time you're tempted to drop everything for someone, remember this. By not being too available, you're actually making yourself more valuable. You're adding an element of mystery, and that's what keeps attraction alive. Number 2, why always chasing women will keep you stuck. Chasing women might feel like the instinctive thing to do when you're interested in someone, but here's a hard truth that many men don't realize. It can actually keep you stuck in a cycle of constant pursuit with little reward. You might feel like you're doing everything right, showing interest, texting back quickly, planning the perfect date, but in reality, this behavior can signal desperation and a lack of emotional control. And let's be honest, neediness is a major turn-off. If you're always chasing, it means you're putting yourself in a position of emotional dependence, and that's not attractive. You're seeking validation, trying to win her over, but this dynamic only sets you up for disappointment. So what's the solution? Stop chasing. Stop running after someone who isn't running towards you. When you let go of the chase and focus on yourself, the entire dynamic changes. The moment you show that you're perfectly fine whether she stays or goes, you regain your power and shift the attraction in your favor. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This perfectly applies to relationships and attraction. Think about it. When you're not desperate for someone's approval or attention, you become a high-value man, someone with emotional control, purpose, and direction. When you're centered in your own life, when you focus on your own goals, passions, and purpose, you stop chasing external validation. Instead, you start living in a way that naturally draws people to you. Women will see you as someone worth pursuing because you're a man with your own life, your own value, and your own sense of self. They'll be drawn to that confidence, to the fact that you're not relying on anyone else for your happiness or sense of worth. Here's a real-life example. Think about someone like Elon Musk. The man has built multiple revolutionary companies, from Tesla to SpaceX, and instead of chasing validation from anyone, he's focused on his goals. As a result, he doesn't need to chase attention. People are drawn to him because of his value, his vision, and the energy he puts into his work. Women, like others, are attracted to him because of his focus, his purpose, and the fact that he's not seeking anyone's approval to feel validated. He's a living example of the Stoic mindset in action. His emotional control, direction, and independence make him a high-value man that others want to be around, whether romantically or professionally. So now I ask you, how many times have you found yourself chasing after someone who wasn't giving you the same energy in return? Do you find yourself constantly texting first, or seeking validation from someone who isn't as emotionally invested? The key takeaway here is that attraction starts with self-value. By focusing on your own goals, passions, and emotional control, you'll stop chasing and start becoming the man that others want to chase. The next time you find yourself in the cycle of constant pursuit, take a step back. Ask yourself, Am I chasing because I lack something, or am I living my life in such a way that others are drawn to me for who I am? Remember, being a high-value man is about emotional control, purpose, and direction. Once you embrace this, you'll see how much more effortlessly relationships and everything else in life fall into place. This is a Stoic life lesson. When you stop chasing, you don't just attract others, you start attracting the right people and the right opportunities into your life. If you've ever found yourself chasing someone and realizing it only led to frustration and lack of progress, share your strength by commenting, "I stopped chasing," below. Number 3. Why speaking too much kills attraction. There's a saying, silence is golden, and when it comes to attraction, it holds an undeniable truth. You may think that sharing everything about yourself, your thoughts and your feelings will help you connect, but too much talking can actually have the opposite effect. It can kill the spark before it even has a chance to ignite. The more you talk, especially about your own emotions or experiences, the more you risk coming across as needy, insecure, or even desperate. Women are naturally drawn to men who are confident enough to let their actions speak louder than their words. They want mystery, depth, and intrigue. When you're able to hold back and not spill everything about yourself right away, you naturally create a space where she's intrigued to learn more about you, and that's what stirs attraction. This isn't about playing games or being aloof, but rather about mastering the art of restraint. There's power in silence. The man who knows when to speak, when to share, and when to keep certain things to himself commands respect and admiration. This is where Stoic life lessons come into play. The Stoics believed in controlling what's within our power and letting go of what's not. In this context, you control how much of yourself you reveal. By speaking less and acting more, you embody confidence and strength, and that's something women can't resist. As the philosopher Lao Tzu wisely said, "A wise man does not reveal all his thoughts." Let's apply this to modern life. Think about how often people overshare on social media or in conversations. How many times have you found yourself scrolling through someone's feed, thinking, "Wow, this person really doesn't hold back"? While honesty and openness are important, there's also something powerful about maintaining some level of mystery, especially in the early stages of a relationship. Over-explaining your thoughts or emotions too early can cause a woman to feel overwhelmed or worse, trapped in the conversation. But when you allow space for curiosity, when you let her ask questions and guide the dialogue, you give her the opportunity to explore your personality at her own pace, which makes her want to connect with you even more. Think about the high-value men you admire, whether in business, sports, or even in your personal life. These are men who don't feel the need to over-explain themselves or constantly seek validation from others. They speak when they need to, and their words carry weight because they're deliberate and meaningful. They understand that speaking too much dilutes their value. This is the power of mastering silence, and it's an important principle to embrace in your own life if you want to build genuine attraction with others. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, remember this: don't be afraid of silence. You don't need to fill every moment with words. Let your actions speak for you, and hold back just enough to create that sense of intrigue. Practice restraint and you'll naturally draw people in. Women will be more intrigued by what they don't know about you, and the mystery you leave will make them want to uncover more. When you understand the balance between speaking and being silent, you'll embody the win Stoic mindset. Focused, confident, and in control of your own energy and emotions. So, ask yourself, how much do I really need to share? And what does withholding just enough reveal about my own sense of self-control? Embrace this principle and you'll not only enhance your attractiveness, but also live a life of greater purpose and intentionality. Number 4. Attraction. It's about who you are, not what you do. When it comes to attraction, many men mistakenly believe that the secret lies in grand gestures, expensive gifts, or flashy actions to win a woman's heart. However, the truth is, these external things matter far less than most people realize. What really makes a difference and captures someone's attention is not what you do, but who you are and the energy you bring into a room. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever met someone with that magnetic presence? Someone who doesn't need to do much but still draws people in naturally? That's the power of internal energy. Calm confidence, self-assurance, and a sense of inner peace. Attraction isn't about what you can do for her, it's about how you make her feel when you're around. You see, when you're in the presence of someone who is truly secure in themselves, someone who carries themselves with quiet strength and purpose, don't you feel more comfortable, open, and even more drawn to them? It's because their sense of self is clear and their inner strength radiates outward, creating an aura that naturally pulls people in. This idea of attraction isn't a new one. In fact, the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In the context of attraction, this means that rather than focusing on trying to impress others with what you can buy them or the grand gestures you make, you should work on becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to prove himself. It's not about constantly seeking validation from others. It's about becoming grounded in your identity, confident in your own self-worth, and focused on your passions and goals. When you become this kind of person, attraction will come naturally. Women, or anyone for that matter, are drawn to those who have a clear sense of purpose and inner peace, because that energy is magnetic. When you no longer need external validation, when you stop seeking attention from others, you naturally become more desirable. This is the essence of the Stoic mindset: mastering your emotions, actions, and truly understanding your worth. A real-life example of this can be seen in the story of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Throughout his career, Jobs became known not just for the groundbreaking products he created, but for his unique ability to captivate people with his presence. Jobs didn't rely on flashy gestures or material things to draw others in. Instead, his self-assurance, clarity of vision, and ability to stay true to his purpose made him a force to be reckoned with. Whether he was presenting a product or simply speaking with someone, people were drawn to his confidence and authenticity. His inner strength and focus on his passion for innovation made him irresistibly magnetic, not because of what he could buy or show off, but because of who he was at his core. This is the true power of attraction. It's not about impressing others with external things or surface-level gestures. It's about being authentic, understanding your own value, and cultivating inner strength. This is what Stoic happiness is all about. True fulfillment that comes from within, from knowing who you are and living that truth every day. So, I want to ask you, what kind of energy are you bringing into the world? Are you relying on external things to get attention? Or are you attracting others simply by being confident in who you are? When you focus on building your inner strength, understanding your own worth, and living with purpose, you will naturally become magnetic in a meaningful and lasting way. By following the Stoic mindset and focusing on what truly matters, your inner peace, your direction, and your authenticity, You'll see how effortlessly you become a high-value man who doesn't need to chase anything. People will be drawn to you because of who you are, not because of what you can do for them. Number 5, why playing it safe doesn't work. Many men fall into the trap of playing it safe in relationships, thinking that staying in their comfort zone will keep things smooth and ensure they don't lose a woman's interest. They avoid making bold moves, taking risks, or stepping outside of what feels comfortable, fearing that any action that could be perceived as too daring might push her away. But here's the truth. Playing it safe is often the very thing that causes attraction to fade. It leads to boredom, and boredom leads to disconnection. Women, just like anyone else, crave excitement, passion, and the thrill of uncertainty. They want men who are willing to take risks, be bold, and show assertiveness when the moment calls for it. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation where someone plays it too safe, and you immediately lost interest because there's no spark? It's natural to want stability and comfort, but in relationships, the magic happens when you're willing to take chances. This doesn't mean you should act recklessly or irresponsibly, but rather that you should be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. Life is about growth, and relationships are no different. Taking risks and being unapologetically yourself is what sets you apart. If you always play it safe, you'll blend into the background, and that's not what attracts the high-value woman. She's looking for someone who is authentic, who dares to show up as themselves without fear of judgment. This doesn't mean you should be arrogant or overly aggressive, but instead you should trust in your own value and be willing to express yourself boldly. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This applies directly to relationships. Too often, people waste time playing it safe, never truly experiencing the fullness of a connection, out of fear of stepping outside their comfort zones. But in the end, you risk wasting time when you don't take those bold steps. In today's world, you often see examples of men who succeed because they take risks. Think about entrepreneurs, artists, or anyone who's achieved something extraordinary. They didn't get to where they are by sticking to the status quo. They took chances, made bold decisions, and weren't afraid to stand out, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. In relationships, this same principle applies. Women are drawn to men who live with purpose, who take chances, and who are not afraid to face rejection or failure because they know their worth. When you hold back and play it safe, you're signaling to her that you're afraid to fully invest, afraid to commit, afraid to be vulnerable. But when you step forward with confidence and courage, even in the face of uncertainty, that's when you become irresistible. So, how can you apply this lesson to your own life? Ask yourself, when was the last time you took a risk in a relationship? Did you hold back, or did you lean into the moment? Relationships, like all parts of life, are about growth. Playing it safe may seem like the easy path, but it doesn't lead to the deep connections or the exciting relationships that come with taking chances. To embody a Stoic life lesson, understand that you control your actions and how much of yourself you are willing to invest. Be bold, trust yourself, and approach relationships with courage. When you live like this, when you are unapologetically yourself and take risks, you will naturally draw high-value women toward you because they see your strength, confidence, and your willingness to embrace life to the fullest. So, next time you feel the urge to play it safe, remember, life is too short to hold back. Step up, take risks, and live boldly. That's the key to real attraction. Number 6. How seeking her approval diminishes your value. Let's be honest, when you find yourself constantly seeking a woman's approval, you're setting yourself up for emotional dependency. This need for external validation not only drains your energy, but it also makes you less attractive. Think about it. When you seek approval from others, you're telling them, "I don't value myself enough to stand on my own." This behavior shows a lack of emotional independence, which ultimately weakens your position in any relationship. Now, this isn't about being cold or dismissive, but it's about recognizing that your value comes from within, not from the approval of someone else. You need to focus on building your own value, your own goals, dreams, and purpose. Think about the Stoic mindset here. The Stoics famously taught, focus on what you can control, and the one thing you always have control over is your sense of self-worth. When you become emotionally independent, when you stop relying on her for constant validation, you begin to exude a quiet confidence and strength. This shift in attitude is magnetic. Women are naturally drawn to men who don't need their approval to feel good about themselves. A man who is secure in who he is, who knows his worth and doesn't need validation from anyone, becomes the man others want to be around. Think of the high-value men you admire, whether in business, relationships, or personal growth. They don't bend over backward to please others. Instead, they stand firm in their values and goals. That's the key to creating attraction. It's not about impressing her, it's about impressing yourself first. Let's take a step back and reflect. When was the last time you found yourself in a situation where you were overly focused on seeking approval from someone, whether in a relationship or in your career? How did that make you feel? Likely it felt draining and maybe even a bit insecure. On the flip side, think about times when you felt truly confident in your own abilities and self-worth. How did that change your interactions with others? When you stop seeking approval, you start standing in your power. And that's what naturally draws people to you. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you stop seeking others' validation and instead create your own sense of stoic happiness, that's when the magic happens. Women will begin to seek your attention because they sense your strength, confidence, and independence. They'll see you as someone worth pursuing. So ask yourself, are you giving away your power by seeking approval, or are you standing strong in your own value? The moment you stop looking for validation, you'll realize that you no longer need to chase approval from anyone. That's the real attraction. When you embrace your own worth and live with purpose, you become a man of value, someone others are drawn to, not because you seek their attention, but because you've already built your own world. This is the Stoic approach to relationships. To focus on what you control, to master your own emotional independence, and in doing so, find lasting attraction and fulfillment. If you're ready to stop seeking constant approval and start valuing yourself more, if you're ready to become the man who doesn't need validation to feel worthy, hit that comment below. I know my worth, and I no longer chase approval. Number 7. Why strength and vulnerability make you irresistible. Vulnerability is often misunderstood, especially in men, and is sometimes seen as a weakness. But here's the truth. Vulnerability, when paired with strength, becomes one of the most powerful and magnetic traits in attraction. A man who can express his emotions while still maintaining control over them creates an aura of confidence and depth. Think about it. A man who opens up about his struggles, but isn't desperate or needy, isn't showing weakness. Instead, he's demonstrating self-awareness and emotional intelligence. It's this balance between strength and vulnerability that makes a man truly irresistible. Vulnerability doesn't mean spilling your emotions all over the place or being overly dependent on someone else to feel good about yourself. It's about being authentic and honest, while still exuding emotional control. When you open up about your challenges, but do so in a way that shows you've got a handle on your feelings, you invite others in while still standing strong in your own foundation. This is something that high-value men understand intuitively. They're able to share their vulnerabilities without losing their sense of self-worth. This kind of man knows his value isn't dependent on the approval of others, but that doesn't mean he's closed off emotionally. Instead, he understands the Stoic life lesson that true strength isn't about suppressing your emotions, but about controlling them. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This speaks directly to the concept of emotional strength. When you don't need anything from someone else to feel complete, but are still willing to share your emotions openly, you create a dynamic of genuine connection. You're able to show up as your true self, confident in who you are, without relying on others to fill a void. Take a moment and reflect on how often we see men trying to tough it out or hide their true emotions to appear strong or invincible. In doing so, they often shut themselves off from deep, meaningful connections because they believe that being open or vulnerable will make them seem weak. But in reality, it's the opposite. Vulnerability, when paired with strength, makes you magnetic. It shows you're emotionally available but also self-sufficient. You're comfortable enough with yourself to let down your guard, but not so emotionally dependent on anyone else that you lose your sense of self. In modern relationships, this dynamic of showing both strength and vulnerability is essential. Think about the relationships you admire. What makes them stand out? Chances are it's not just about how well the couple gets along on the surface. It's about their ability to communicate openly and support each other while maintaining a sense of independence and self-respect. When you show both strength and vulnerability, you create a space where others feel safe to connect with you, knowing they can be real without fear of judgment or rejection. So, how can you apply this in your life? Are you holding back your emotions because you think vulnerability makes you weak? Or are you willing to embrace both your strength and your emotional side? The key is balance, showing your authentic self while still holding onto your self-respect and emotional control. When you can do this, you become truly irresistible, not because you are perfect, but because you are confident in who you are and emotionally available in a healthy, non-dependent way. This approach allows you to create deeper, more meaningful connections, and that's what will set you apart. By embracing this balance, you embody the Stoic life lesson of mastering your emotions and creating genuine connections that go beyond surface-level attraction. You'll become the man who is not only emotionally available, but also emotionally independent. And that's the ultimate form of strength. As we've discussed, whether it's learning to tease with the right touch, mastering emotional distance, or showing vulnerability without weakness, the path to becoming a more attractive and magnetic version of yourself all comes down to one key element: control. Control over your emotions, actions, and how you present yourself to the world. Remember, attraction isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming the man who understands his own worth and isn't afraid to show it. If you're ready to take these lessons and apply them to your life, stick with us. The journey of mastering the modern Stoic mindset and becoming a Win Stoic is just beginning. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Win Stoic, and turn on notifications so you never miss an opportunity to learn how to live with purpose, control, and power. Keep your mind sharp and your actions intentional, and watch how your world begins to shift.